Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in opposition to the motion to instruct and yield myself such time as I might consume.
The gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, while I can appreciate the work that has been done on the other side of this building over in the Senate, I would remind the House that it has been the House committee that has conducted the oversight that has brought this to light. The corruption and the arrogance that has taken root at the Department of Veterans Affairs did, as my colleagues say, did not happen overnight. But I just want to tell my colleagues a little of the history about what brings us here today. Since the 9th of June and July 24th, the House Committee on Veterans Affairs will have held 12 full committee hearings highlighting the problems that exist at the Department of Veterans Affairs. But beginning with the 112th Congress, the House Committee on Veterans Affairs has held 196 hearings, of which 126 were oversight hearings, and in the 113th Congress alone, we've held 96 hearings to date. We're doing our work. As a result of our work, both the House and the Senate correctly moved to address the problems that exist at the department. And as often the case, the bills we pushed through have reflected our good intentions, but there has been a vacuum while waiting for the CBO to score the bills. But it's important to remember that the current scandal at VA really entails two issues: timely access to the health care that veterans have earned, and accountability because of the culture of corruption that exists among far too many senior leaders who have put their own welfare ahead of those they're supposed to be serving. The CBO finally provided us with a formal score on the Senate amendment on the 17th of July. Since that time, and even prior to that time, my staff has been in daily contact with our Senate counterparts, and we are making progress on the conference report. And there are differences of opinion as to what the final conference report, in fact, is going to say. That's the nature of our work. But to my knowledge, there's no impasse that has been reached at this point. Now, I'm confident that the goodwill on both sides of the aisle and both sides of the Hill will present a report that both the House and the Senate can pass before the August recess, so it really makes no sense to take the Senate position on the leases at this time. In fact, some of the provisions in the Senate version are similar to the House bills that have been waiting in the Senate for months, and they could have been sent, any one of them, on to the President for his signature. And that brings me to the specifics of the motion to instruct today. On December 10th, 2013, the House passed H.R. 3521 by a vote of 346 to 1. That bill contained provisions to authorize 27 VA community-based outpatient clinics. It includes the Tulsa, Oklahoma clinic that my colleague referred to not being in the Senate bill. And like nearly a dozen other House bills passed in a bipartisan fashion, they are stalled in the Senate. The Senate could pass and send the 27 clinic bill that we sent over to them in December today. I must point out that on a total of 6 different occasions, Senator Vitter from Louisiana and others, both Republican and Democrat, have gone to the Senate floor to request a vote on H.R. 3521 and have been blocked by the Democrats in the Senate. Perhaps the motion to instruct today should be revised to instruct the majority leader of the Senate or the Democrat caucus in the Senate. Again, we're making progress on the conference report, and to recede at this point to the Senate position would be premature at best. Now, let me spend a few moments talking about today's news regarding the VA budget needs. In each of our annual budget hearings, members have repeatedly asked the Secretary of VA, do you have the resources that you need to get the job done? And every single time the Secretary has said yes. Now today, suddenly, because of the oversight of the House Committee on Veterans Affairs, Secretary Gibson, Acting Secretary Gibson, testified before the Senate that they will need approximately $17.6 billion in additional resources to meet current demand for the remainder of this year and into 2017. In his testimony, Acting Secretary Gibson stated that about $10 billion of this money would go to purchase care and to hire 10,000 new clinical staff. He further stated that the purchase care would decline over time with a gradual shift back to reliance on internal VA care. He also said about $6 billion would be spent on new infrastructure. So what the acting secretary is saying is give us billions of more tax dollars to continue reliance upon care that will continue to force veterans to drive, as my colleague has said, in many cases too far, hundreds of miles for the care that they have earned. And oh, by the way, give us more dollars to dump into our construction program that has been shown to be so ineptly managed to result in major projects being on average 35 months, not days, 35 months behind schedule and at least $366 million over cost. Now again, why would we automatically stand up, salute, and write a check when the Inspector General and the GAO have both said we cannot trust VA's numbers on multiple occasions? So the department, which Rob Neighbors describes as having a corrosive culture, now asks for nearly $18 billion. Look, we can't allow the Department of Veterans Affairs to continue to consider itself a sacred cow, above serious oversight of how the already significant resources we provide to the department have been spent. Decades of kid-glove approach by Congress to holding VA accountable has led us to the issues that confront us today. So I would urge my colleagues to oppose the motion to instruct, and at this time I would like to yield as much time as he may consume to Mr. Jolly from Florida.